Today we're checking out a very neat debug utility. It is simple. It allows us to get a bit more color and have a bit more control for our debug logging in Unity. So how does it actually work? Very simply, we are wrapping our debug log warning and error with our own version that is just taking in a little bit more. It is also set up to be a conditional for Unity Editor. That means when you do build your game will build successfully. It'll be skipped in the build and only will show up while you're in Editor. So what does it do? We have a prefix that we can add to our log. We have a message. We can pass in a Boolean to say, hey, do we want this log to show up or not? Now we do this because we want to control it per class, or rather per component. I'll show you that in a moment. And we have some color defined. We're just using cyan as our default color, which we can change at any time. So what does it actually look like when you use it in a class? Here's a very simple test class with some function, and we're just going to call debug utility.log, and you just pass in the parameters. However, I actually want to show you a bit of a real use case. So let's actually jump into Unity and see what does it look like when we actually see your typical logging. So this is a very typical log. We are doing some scene initialization over here. You can see that we have some kind of our own prefix. Now we're not using our log feature yet. We're going to implement this, say, for our scene initialization complete. We're going to change this and use our debug utility. So let's check that out and see what that looks like. In our scene initializer, we're going to go down to the line where normally we would say if show debug logs. So we do have show debug logs, which we can toggle on and off, which means that it only affects this component and not others. Hence why we're not using a global Boolean to actually set it. We are just doing it on a per component basis. So normally we would have something to show the logs. We would have our log over here, which is very simple. We're going to pass in the full string formatted exactly how we want it to be. Now we can use string interpolation and actually have in, say, trying to pass it in some parameters. You can do that. We can also do that with our own debug utility. So let's see what that looks like. We're going to comment that out and bring it into action. So we've got debug utility.log. We're going to pass in initializer. It will automatically wrap with brackets. If we have a look here, I'll just bring it over here on the right so we can see what we're passing in side by side. Then we're going to pass in a message, and then we're going to pass in the Boolean of should we allow it or not. And since on this class we are using show debug logs parameter as the control mechanism for turning logs on and off, that is passed in. We're going to use the default cyan color. That is fine for now. Now you can use different colors if you wanted to for your different log warnings and log errors if you wanted to match it up. However, the flexibility is there. So now that we have it on, let's check it out and see actually what it looks like. Firstly, we want to make sure that show logs is enabled, and we're just going to hit play. We should see in a moment our new debug utility in action. So you can see we're passed in initializer and we have our scene initialization complete. Very straightforward, very easy to use, and because we are using our show debug logs as a parameter, if we were to now turn that off, we will have nothing from this class. So we actually will not have that show up. Don't worry about that. So that is how we fully control a bit of a very simple debugging with a very neat, very very easy to use class, and you can take this in any project and use it as you wish. Of course, feel free to extend it. And yeah, that's all there is for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and got a little bit closer to where you want to be down the development track. Once again, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon if you do enjoy this content. I'll see you again next week.